Hey guys, Delta 4 here, getting ready to actually start my Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic Let's Play. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take you through the character creation process, and if you've already played the game and are well familiar with the system, great, and if you don't want any spoilers or just don't care, you can feel free to skip this episode and go right straight to Attack on the Endar Spire. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to make a new guy, and he's going to be a male scout, and we're going to do custom character. I'm going to walk through the whole process. So the first is pick a face. I've never really liked any of the faces from the first game, so I think I'll just go with the one I normally pick. That guy. So now we're going to go over attributes. Okay, so each one, if this doesn't look familiar to you, that means you haven't played Dungeons & Dragons. This game uses the D20 system that Dungeons & Dragons has used for a while. I'm not a full expert, but I know since at least I think Advanced Dungeons & Dragons they've used the 6 main attribute system. So what we're going to go over is each one of these. Strength, we'll read the description over here off to the side. Strength measures physical power. A high strength adds modifiers to melee damage and a chance to hit, which is important for characters that use close combat weapons, fiber blades, lightsabers. So basically strength is pretty much only applicable to melee characters. Then we're going to go to dexterity, which is a lot more important, I feel. Dexterity measures agility and reflexes. A high dexterity adds modifiers to ranged attack rolls and increases a character's defense rating, making them harder to hit. What it does, it says it, but not really. Dexterity also adds to your reflex saves, which certain abilities and whatnot used from enemy characters or what have you will test your reflex saves on whether or not something will affect you or not. So that's also important. And dexterity only adds a modifier as a ranged attack rolls. It doesn't say anything about damage, which makes sense, you know. Constitution represents health and resilience. A high constitution adds modifiers to the vitality points gained at each level up. This is important for everyone, but essential for soldiers and Jedi Guardians. What it doesn't tell you is it also adds to your, I believe Constitution adds to your fortitude saves, which again, like reflex saves, affects certain abilities that can affect you and whether or not you manage to repel their effects. Intelligence. Intelligence is your skills, basically mostly your utility skills that are used outside of combat. There's pretty much only 3 skills I think that are applicable during combat, and that's stealth, demolitions, and treat injury. And the reason for that is demolitions, you can set mines and stuff during combat, but typically you want to set them before and lure your enemies through the minefield that you've laid out in order to kill them. Stealth is pretty much only applicable to before the fight. Scoundrels get a special ability that allows them to do more damage when they're coming out of either stealth or when their enemy is stunned, which doesn't apply to us because we're playing a scout, and I'll explain why we're picking a scout in a moment. Then we come to wisdom, and wisdom is basically for force, how much force power you have, and it also adds to your will modifier, which again, if enemy force users use powers against you, it's your ability, how easily you are able to resist their attacks. And then charisma. Charisma is good for basically 2 things: persuading enemies and for using force powers that are not in your particular alignment. So if I'm a bad guy but I want to use light side abilities, it costs more for me to do. So charisma helps alleviate that for a little bit. And everything is on a, +1, +2 kind of scale, and I'll show you how that works. We're going to go ahead and hit recommended just to show you what a scout typically should have. So 12 points give us a +1 modifier, 16 points gives us a +3 modifier, and then 12 to Constitution, Wisdom, and yep. So this is pretty much what I want anyway. And you want a higher Dexterity because it gives you more defense. And defense is your enemy's chances to hit you. So you want a higher defense. Okay, so now we're going on to skills. So as I said, these are all of your 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. You have 8 skills. 3 of them are applicable during combat, and the rest of them are pretty much utility. So we're going to go ahead and hit if I could talk correctly, this would go a lot smoother. We're going to go ahead and hit recommended and show you what it gives you, and then I'm going to tell you what I like and what I don't like. Actually, I pretty much like that. I don't put any points into stealth because it doesn't do me any good. I would like points in persuade, but it is a cross-class skill, which means it's going to cost me more points to use anyway. And never put any points in security, because it's just not worth it. Most things that are locked can either be broken into, or one of your companion characters that you'll have will have security, so there's no point in ever wasting points in that. There's just no point. It's a waste of time, in my opinion. So we're going to go ahead and move on. We're going to hit OK. Now we're going to go to feats. Feats is kind of a touchy subject in that you have different feats that apply to combat and to utility. And so you kind of have to weigh your options and figure, you know, which do I really want to have. So we start off with light armor and medium armor, and we start off with flurry, implant level 1. This is why I picked a scout. Implant level 1. All of the implant levels are granted to you as a scout, which means you don't have to take them. So you don't have to waste skill points that you would have used otherwise to get them. That's huge. Implants will, later on in the game, and especially towards the end game, implants are very useful because they'll give you extra stats that can make, you know, can really give you an extra boost in what you're trying to achieve. So then we start out with our combat abilities, which is flurry and rapid shot, and I'll show you the description of those once we get past what you get started off with. We start off with weapon proficiency, pistols, rifles, and melee weapons. So we're going to go ahead and hit OK. And the remainder of the list is what we can choose for to have one as when we start with. So armor, medium, light's pretty self-explanatory. That means we can equip either light or medium armor. We start off with flurry, which basically is we get to take an extra attack, but at the penalty of having a -4 to our rolls. So you get an extra attack, but you pay for it, is basically what it means. It's a gamble. Implant level 1 allows us to use cybernetic implants that are that have the prerequisite of having level 1. That doesn't really apply to the beginning of the game. You won't find too many implants, but that's great for late game. Rapid fire is basically the flurry equivalent, but for blasters. And that's pretty much it. And the rest of these just say that they give you the ability to use that weapon. Okay. So your remaining abilities that you can really choose for are toughness. Toughness is a big one that I'm gonna pick to start with. The next one is dueling. Dueling is for basically if you want to be one-handed fighter, and it gives you +1 to attack and +1 to defense, but only when you're using a one-handed weapon. So you have to kind of be careful about that. If you want to do two-weapon fighting, you cannot take that ability. Then for combat abilities, for ranged we have Power Blast and we have Sniper Shot. So Power Blast is it adds 5 to the damage, but you take... It's the same thing. All of these abilities are a gamble. You have a chance to have an additional ability, but at the chance of a loss of not actually making the attack. That's the trade-off. So in the beginning game, you really don't want to use these abilities because your chance to hit is already so low that you don't want to take that extra minus as it is. So that one's extra damage. Rapid Fire is extra chance to shot, and Sniper Shot is a chance to stun. It increases your critical chance range, and if you make that critical hit, then it also stuns. That's the beauty of it. and that's great for scoundrels again because you do extra damage. So gearhead and conditioning's combat. It adds to your bonus saves. That's one we might pick up later on if the scout allows for enough feat decisions. Empathy is for persuade, awareness, and treat injury. So more utility. Gearhead or caution is demolitions and stealth. 2-weapon fighting we'll be taking because we wanna do more damage overall. 2 weapons is always the way to go when you want to do more damage. So conditioning with saving throws, that's more combat related. Gearhead is more utility, is repair, security, and computer use. So, that'll be good for like companion characters that, you care less about and you want them to have more utility so they can get more things done for you, but not exactly designed for a main class. So that's pretty much all the feats that you have, and so, they're kind of split. You have some that are good for utility and you have some that are good for combat. So for me, mostly I'm going to be taking mostly combat related feats. So we're going to start off with toughness, and what toughness does is it grants you an extra vitality point every time you level up, and the bonus is retroactive for levels previously gained, which doesn't really affect us since we're taking it at level 1. So what you'll notice is it says I have 9 health and 13 defense. Now let me break that down for you real quick in the character creation screen. What that means is I start off with 8 health because I'm a scout, which is the middle tier class, the balance. So I start off with 8 health every level. I get 1 additional health for constitution, so that gives me 9. So maybe when it starts the game I'll actually have 10. I'll have to check that out. And then my defense, your defense is always a base of 10, and then because my dexterity is 16, I get a +3 bonus modifier, which gives me a total of 13 to start. So, if you have any questions, just feel free to put them in the bottom. Put them in the comments and I will answer. So, we're going to name our guy... If I could type, this would be easier. John Shepard, because everybody loves John Shepard. So here we are. Here's our character. He's a scout. Let's roll.